Hi, and welcome to another story and another video in my One Company, One Story series. You know the way these things go, here comes the amateur legalese. I began investing in companies and their stocks in the late 70s, but I'm not a certified investment professional. My style and history of investing is described in Dream, Invest, Live, a book I wrote by request, which came out as the Great Recession, or as I call it, the Second Great Depression, began. Bad timing, eh? My personal finance blog is trendsetter.net, so you can see some more of what I've been saying here, there. But keep in mind, I am not an investment professional. This is not financial advice. And this is also about the company, not necessarily about the stock. I'll mention the stock, but I find that too often investing ends up being a story about, well, numbers and stocks rather than people and companies. So hopefully what you're seeing is the Solo, which is at this point the sole product of the company ElectraMeccanica, a firm out of Vancouver, British Columbia, despite the palm trees in the background. And it's a company that has an innovative idea of believing that people will buy cars rationally, at least eventually, and maybe even fashionably. They're making and selling a three-wheeled, one-passenger electric vehicle that fits enough lifestyles and business models that they could be profitable and could be a trendsetter. I mean, you consider most personal trips. They're one person driving less than 50 miles with stop-and-go traffic. People commute. Errands get run. It doesn't take much. If it doesn't take much, then don't use much. Why lug around 2 tons of car to get yourself to work or to buy some groceries? A bicycle may suffice, but this company's familiar with Vancouver, British Columbia weather. Rain, snow, and cold and wind encourages an enclosed shell, and that's not the only place that would be in style and useful. So also then consider deliveries. Instead of just people, think about businesses. It doesn't take much to deliver a pizza. And ideally, the pizza shop is already close to the customer, so range shouldn't be as much of an issue. Lots of quick trips and easier parking may make a business advantage because this thing is small compared to, well, most delivery vans. So they have less time spent driving around the block trying to find a place to put it. So lots of quick trips and easier parking can be an advantage. And if they use quick chargers, then the range becomes less of an issue as well. Also, you skip all the trips to the gas station for whatever your delivery vehicles are. There are other businesses. This isn't the only one that'll make quick, short trips. And they don't need tons of vehicles in terms of tonnage. Of course, the company would probably be happy if somebody bought lots of them. Well, let's just take a look here then. So here's, 5 cubic feet of cargo space. Not phenomenal, but not bad. Up to 100 miles range. Up to, I always hate that because it goes from 0 to whatever. And a top speed of 80, which, granted, that's more than highway speeds. I mean, 55, 60, 70, depending on where you are, but this isn't really designed for that. And it is still somewhat heavy. It's not 4,000 pounds, it's 1,700 pounds. But again, go back and take a look at this thing. And, yeah, it's small. Unfortunately, people are not always rational. They may drive alone, they may never reach highway speeds, but they'll buy sedans and SUVs and pickup trucks. And it's all with speedometers that much reach into the triple digits because that's the way things have always been. So check history. Always is usually not as always as most folks think it is. Always frequently ends up being something that really was fairly new. The life was much more pragmatic just a century ago, and somebody's grandparent must remember those days and would think that a vehicle that carries one gets the job done is the way to go. Then also take a look at the trends. Here's one from published in the Washington State Governor's Office. And Washington State's not the only one, but lots of governments and organizations are going to all electric vehicles. In which case, is this the time for something like this? The Great Resignation is coming along. Okay, is this the time for folks that are trying to try different lifestyles? Also, work from home also changes how much folks have to drive. If you no longer have a really long commute, does uh, a short commuter car that just gets you to the local grocery store handle most of your needs? I mean, it's not like you can only have one car. You can have two. You can have this little thing and some big thing, but you don't have to be driving the big thing around all the time. And considering gas prices and inflation and interest rates, this might be something that's happening just at the right time, right place at the right time. Or folks are going to think that it's just too freaky, it's just too funky, it's just too, well, cute, right? Because it's harder to take that sort of thing seriously, but at the same time, as an engineer, I can really appreciate the practicality of it. Not that I have one, mind you. I don't have a spare $18,500. But check the earnings report, or not, because it's in that uncertain phase between startup mode where everything is projections and hopes, and then the mature phase when there are production lines that are up and running, and we know what the order history is like. We know what the customers are expecting. We know what the customers want. And that's where it's good to be using the more quantifiable evaluation models for how much a company is worth. But they're in production, but they've really only started partly this year, so they have very few reported sales. But that also means that prior to the previous year, they have great sales, but not as much as they wanted. And supply chains are in place, but like everywhere else, they're being interrupted by pandemic. And hopefully, during all this time, while they've been building out, they're going to be setting themselves up for some nice foundational work. But last year, they only reported 1.44 million. Let's see if I've got that one here. All this is courtesy of the company and some other websites. There you go, $1.44 million. And that was just Q3, but still, we're not talking a phenomenal amount of money for a company. For me, it'd be a phenomenal amount of money, and they only we're talking sales on the order of 103, whether that's by quarter or by year. What they're really looking at, and unfortunately I couldn't find it readily, but production volumes on the order of tens of thousands per year. I believe that's what their manufacturing facility is going to be geared towards. But still, right now, it's hard to see that because right now it's only 1.44 million, that kind of thing. Which may explain why the stock is the way the stock is. This is Google Finance. Thank you so much. And you can see it's a market cap of 145 million. So that's small, which can be an opportunity if it becomes big. That's the way these things work, right? You buy a small company, wait for it to get large, then you sell it. But does it do that? And in the meantime, you can see that whatever enthusiasm there has not been sustained on a growth curve. And considering that they actually started selling vehicles, this would have been a good time to have an uptick like this one. I don't know what the sentiment is, but again, I'm not trying to analyze the stock as much as analyze where the company is. The company is a new company. They've got some concept vehicles, so it isn't just the three-wheel. I'm not sure exactly how this is going to zoom in or zoom out, but they got a couple roadsters and one thing that looks very Italian, the Dauphine. But the company is relying on the Solo right now. And they've got over, I think they were saying, they have like let's see, where's it say? What's their cash reserve? 173 million of working capital. So it's not like they're on the edge, but this is a game where you have to have a lot of capital. You have to have something to build out to because it's not easy to mass produce these sorts of things. So goes life in the land of startups, and so goes life in the land of the changing lifestyles, the changing workplace, the changing technologies, the changing regulatory environment. And I don't know, but I know that I find this a fascinating company. And I wish them well. I have a little bit of the stock. I'll openly disclose that. But I'll be watching it to see what happens. And I hope this has been useful to you. I've got other companies on this YouTube channel and on this blog. Well, on the YouTube channel. And you can find the links to my blog on those as well. So for that, I'll leave you to it, and I wish you well.